Hey y'all, welcome back to Bowls with the Bard. My name is Cakes, I am your host. On this week's episode of Cakes Takes, John and I will be chatting about We Happy Few's current production of Macbeth, directed and adapted by Hannah Todd. But before we do that, we're gonna get high. Okay, Macbeth at We Happy Few. So I'm going to start off by reading you a couple little snippets from the director's notes. So first off, Hannah says, "There's a directive uttered over and over in this play, never in these exact words, but in various phrases conveying the same meaning. Be a man." And then skipping a little bit forward, she writes, "Feminist theorist Bell Hooks writes, the first act of violence the patriarchy demands of males is not violence toward women. Instead, patriarchy demands of all males that they engage in acts of psychic mutilation, that they kill off the emotional parts of themselves." If those two things are themes or what we're supposed to be looking at in this production of Macbeth, I think the version of Macbeth we saw, played by Danny Cackley, is exactly that.
Yeah.
I did not read that before I watched the play, and I was intrigued but didn't know how to feel about the characterization kind of throughout the play. And then when I read the director's note, I was like, okay, yeah, that's the Macbeth we saw. We saw a Macbeth that you didn't get to see an emotional reaction to pretty much anything.
Yeah.
He stayed pretty calm and cool. I think there was one moment where you like almost saw him break when he sent Macduff in to find Duncan murdered.
Right.
And other than that, he didn't really break, in my opinion. I don't know, what did you think?
That first scene that we have when we see him, not with Lady Macbeth, but with Banquo, he seems like an excited warrior. You know, he's got his passions that way. Early on, I did see that he had, you know, some more complex emotions, and then, like you're saying, I saw a lot more, you know,
like shutting it off and calculating. Yeah, I agree. I think I saw him start the play the same way, with like a little more excitement, a little more like, oh, I could be the king.
Like gravitas.
But then I think the moment I saw a switch happen was when he was first with Lady M.
Yes.
That's normally when you see Macbeth have like some sort of major reaction to her idea to kill Duncan. And in this version, it was like, we're gonna kill Duncan.
Right.
And it kind of makes sense because, like, why wouldn't this person who just came back from war and killed a bunch of people be like, okay, I'm just gonna go kill this other guy. But then afterward, you do see that little twinge of like, oh shit, what did I do?
Yeah.
Because it's more personal. He did it to somebody he knew, and he did it to somebody who had affections for him.
Yep. Especially right after it happens, when Macbeth and Lady Macbeth like re-meet. Right after he does it and brings the daggers back, they're so frantic that they're finally realizing that what they've done was not good. But they can't go back.
Yeah, but then so quickly after, that's where you see the two of them veer.
Yeah.
Because you get a Macbeth who sees the blood on his hands all the time and is able to ignore it and move on, and then go on to kill more people and go on to kill more people and go on to kill more people. And then transitioning into Our Lady, you get her in the moment that she first sees the blood on her hands. She can't handle it. I thought they handled this moment beautifully. Normally, after Duncan has died and everybody has found out about it, Lady M has this moment where she faints. And normally the fainting is like this act to draw attention away from the fact that Macbeth is fucking up in his explanation of why he killed the sleepy grooms. But in this version, she was actually like fainting because she was seeing this blood on her hands and she couldn't take it. And then the next time we see her, like, she's the queen, she looks badass as fuck. Except
Those
she's
green
wearing
shoes.
Yeah, like the green shoes, but she's got the fur on, like she's the queen. But she also has on these tacky black gloves that don't quite go with the outfit, and you're like, she can't look at her hands. That's the moment she started going crazy. Like,
you
she
caught that way faster than I did, because I didn't realize that until you actually mentioned it to me, and I was kind of befuddled because it was such a smart choice.
Yeah.
And it tied into absolutely what the director's notes said, and like I think it was a perfect example of that, of showing how he was able to still see the blood on his hands and not
just like he's not fazed by it, and she can't handle it. Going back to her earlier portrayal of the character, like, I was very interested in it because normally you get one of two Lady M's. You get either the like super sexualized Lady M, or you get the like super evil version of Lady M. And I didn't really feel like she played either of those things. And I think initially I was like, because I was like, I know Raven can play these things. So like, what is she doing? And the moment that her portrayal clicked for me was when I really started looking at the set and looking at, the whole set was covered in empty picture frames. And then to me, I was like, oh, like, here's this like picturesque Lady M and this picturesque Macbeth. They're both beautiful. They're both like what you want to see in a leader. Like, oh my gosh, they're beautiful, they're confident. He's a warrior, she's this strong woman. But behind these like beautiful portrayals of these people, there's like no substance. They can't actually follow through with the things that they say they want. So this version of Lady M, like, she was very matter of fact. She would tell Macbeth, like, okay, this is what I want. Like, she's not she's not seducing him. She had a few moments of peeking when like it didn't seem like she was gonna get what she wanted. She would fight for it, but it was never like pushing an evil or pushing a sexy.
I mean, in all honesty, it seemed like a modern day relationship. It seemed like a good relationship between two people who see eye to eye and see each other equally, and it was very indicative of that, because he was like, yeah, I'm all for your decision, you know. There was no hesitation, which, you know, from what I've seen in Macbeth is sometimes there is a hesitation for wanting to kill Duncan. And, you know, for him it was like, oh, my wife thinks this is best, and like,
and the witches said that I was going to be king, so like this must be the way that it has to happen. It's going to happen this way, and then there's like this slight twinge of regret right after, and then a shut off. That's definitely what you got from them. It was very interesting. It was very different. It's nothing that I've ever seen done with Lady M and Macbeth, but I thought that it did work.
It was really great.
I guess we'll talk a little bit about the sound design in this show. There's like a lot of sound design elements. The show opens with the witch scene, which you get the other three actors in the show. I guess it's probably a good thing to mention that this show has 5 actors.
Playing everyone.
Danny Cackley plays Macbeth. Raven Bonnywell plays Lady Macbeth, and a couple other characters at the end that are not listed. Desiree Chappelle, I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrong, plays Ross Banquo, the servant and a witch. Dylan J. Fleming plays Duncan Macduff and a witch. And Stephanie Pesta plays a witch, Malcolm, the porter, Fleance, and the small Macduff child, or as they have it listed here, Dufflet.
I love that.
Yeah, but you start the play with you literally walk in and the three of them are
Standing as though they're in a portrait.
Yeah.
Which is like, you know,
another moment of like picturesque.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Like there were definitely a few moments of like stare at this picture for a minute.
Yeah, a lot of that. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to that.
Yeah.
But when the lights finally go down, the three of them stay in this portrait, and you get inundated with whispers. And for me, as someone who has played a witch and who has also read for a witch a million times, I know that scene like the back of my hand, so I was really able to hear all of the lines in that scene, and I knew that that's what was going on there. For you, you said...
It was a little bit different because having only read Macbeth a few times, and because, you know, I had to study a scene for it, I think I've only seen it... I'm trying to remember if I've even seen it in person on stage before. And I actually, aside from maybe doing it in high school, you know, I don't remember much of it. So the first scene with the witches and that kind of stereoscopic 3D effect where they had it like the witches were all around you, and it was super cool. But everything was layered on top of each other, and because I wasn't as familiar with the text, it kind of slipped by me and I wasn't 100% sure what I was listening to. And you said you could hear everything, but was it in a different place?
Yeah, I mean, I could hear all the lines, but not everything. I don't think everything was quite in order, and I think that at certain points there were other lines that were kind of being thrown in there as well.
So, which I don't know, because the witches scene does set up a lot of the plot. And to me, it's not like I was thrown off at all, but I didn't understand what was going on at first. It was a little confusing. It was definitely a little confusing with the layering of the lines, as opposed to hearing a line one by one.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But it was cool.
It was really
cool,
definitely.
I wouldn't say that I didn't like it.
It definitely
it was cool, but
set an atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would.
Yes,
I would
and
agree.
it set that like almost horror movie kind of thing.
Yes.
You know, it was almost like you're watching like a horror movie.
Which was happening. I think that was kind of a theme throughout all of the sound design. Like, they had music playing underneath a lot of the action.
Yeah.
Music was playing underneath, I think, all of Macbeth's soliloquies except for Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which in the moment there were some speeches that I was like, oh, okay, I like this underscoring, and there were others that I was like, I'm not sure how I feel about it. And then I understood at the end of the show why they were all underscored, because that speech, not having an underscoring, gave it like a huge punch.
Yeah.
Oh, there were some great horror moments where they used the like stereotypical like noises.
So interesting.
But it
seemed like they really made an effort to almost make it like you're watching, which I've never seen before. I've never seen someone attempt that. I don't know if it's. I we've done Sleep No More, and Sleep No More can be kind of scary at some points.
But that's not. But that's like completely immersive. This was like partly
like watching
immersive.
A scary movie.
But like being in the scary movie,
Right.
the way that they set up the stage with like the 3D effect, and the way that like sometimes we had to turn around to look at it, like it did feel a little bit like we were a part of it, and like the music was trying to make us definitely like feel the vibe that we needed to feel in
like
whatever
in this
moment.
Very old house, this like haunted mansion, like hearing the knocks. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Because it almost also seemed like it was coming from everywhere.
Yeah. I definitely think like what they were trying to do with it was effective. There were just some moments where I was like, I feel like this music is trying to tell me to feel one way, and I don't feel that way about what is happening.
Yeah. It was super, super effective during that one moment where the lights flashed. And you could see their faces.
Yeah. At the end of the Hecate scene, they have a brilliant moment that I don't know that I've ever jumped in my seat in a theater before, and in that moment, the faces that the actors were making when the lights flashed, like, yeah.
It's one of those horror movie moments where their mouths were completely open, making like some kind of like grimace, like showing all their teeth, almost like when a dog bares its teeth that you have to really mad, or a cat, something like that. But it was it's like all of them were standing kind of in this triangular pattern, and you weren't really expecting it at all, and all of a sudden the lights flash, and it's like if you blink you would have missed it.
You missed it. Yeah.
You missed it, but when you catch it, it was definitely like, oh my gosh.
It
was jarring and it was scary, but it was awesome because it was effective. And I think that's something I want to see more in theater.
Fight choreography?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it was pretty badass. The way they killed Banquo was shocking. The circumstances surrounding Banquo being killed were like definitely hard to watch. I don't want to give away too much.
Go see it.
Yeah, exactly. The Macbeth murders were beautifully choreographed. I want to give a shout out to Desiree Chappelle as Ross.
Yes.
I don't want to tell you about how the Macduffs get murdered, but I will tell you that after Desiree comes in as Ross and has this beautifully moving moment where you see her blame herself for what has just happened to the family, and she just has this amazingly beautiful emotional release where she weeps over it. And I've seen Macbeth like 6 times. I know the Macduffs are gonna die. I know that kids are gonna die in that scene. And them actually dying, I mean, I definitely was affected by the fight choreography, and I was like, oh shit. But it wasn't a like emotionally, oh my god, these children just died moment. But when Desiree comes back on and has that moment, I sobbed, and I don't think I've ever cried in Macbeth before. So, yeah.
I loved it because I'm gonna announce now, spoiler alert. So if you do plan on seeing it, mute your phones now. But my favorite part was about that scene was the fact that because Ross comes in, or Ross or Desiree, and does the murder, she's the murderer as well. She kills Macduff.
She kills Lady Macduff and the kid.
And the Lady Macduff and the kid.
But as a different person.
As
like,
a different person. She comes in with like these aviators and basically like comes in, murders them brutally, and then runs back in as Ross to do this immediate shift where she's like actually crying.
Like weeping over what she could have prevented.
I mean, I know where she found the stimulus, but to as an actor to try and understand how somebody can flip-flop
and
like that.
That
From
moment,
murder to sorrow, like,
that
was
moment,
incredible.
that moment was also great just from like a directorial
Spoiler
standpoint because it forced you to look at the bodies on stage for like a significant amount of time. You just had to stare at them. But the payoff for having to stare at them was beautiful. So yeah, that was great. The fight between Macduff and Macbeth at the very end is
fantastic,
badass and moves all over the stage and is just like epic fight choreography through and through. And executed beautifully by Dylan and Danny.
Such a great job.
Yeah.
It was definitely one of those moments where I was like, who's gonna win? You know who's gonna win, but it's like, who's gonna win?
Oh, but
just like...
Casey throws in there's a twist in the middle of that fight where you're like, oh shit, I know what has to happen, but is it gonna happen in this production? Are they gonna edit the ending? Like, what's gonna happen? Yeah, it was great. Lastly, I guess I just want to give a shout out to the three actors who don't play Macbeth and Lady Macbeth because they do excellent work. They play everybody else in the show. The show is like I think a little over an hour and a half long with no intermission, which thank you. All about short Shakespeare, cut Shakespeare. I love Shakespeare, cut Shakespeare. So
it was nice to be able to go home before 11 o'clock.
Yeah, like it was a wonderful, like, quick night at the theater. It was an impactful night at the theater. Like, you still got the whole play. You got the gist of the play. They kept in everything that was important.
In my opinion, nothing lost. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but you know.
But yeah, these three actors, you constantly knew who they were. Another shout out, like, the costumers did a great job of making sure that, like, even though they were subtle costume changes, they were only like one piece that would change at a time, you always knew who people were. I give major props to Desiree. She has an iconic role like Banquo in like the roles that she's playing.
And Ross,
But the thing is, like, I don't think of Ross as an iconic role, but like the way that she portrayed that character made it more memorable than Banquo, even though her Banquo was also great.
I could totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Like,
Banquo just seemed like a friend on the side.
Yeah, and I mean, Banquo actually, even though Banquo's important, and her Banquo ghost moment is fucking epic.
Yeah.
Banquo actually doesn't have that much to do, whereas Ross, especially in this version, because I think Ross had a couple characters compacted to make it a little bit bigger.
I feel like a lot of people do that usually.
Yeah, they conflate characters all the time. Dylan Fleming had a really beautiful moment when he found out as Macduff that his wife and children had been murdered. Again, like, I've seen that scene a million times. I know that it's coming. I know that text, and I know it packs a punch. But it doesn't always pack a punch if it's not in the right mouth and if it's not coming out the right way. And I thought his delivery of that moment was very memorable, and it was very impactful. Mad props to Stephanie Pesta. She played 5 characters. 2 of them were children. Neither of those children were the same child, which is always great. I liked her Porter. It was self-aware. They had some ad-libbing. I don't know if that was her choice or the director's choice. I liked some of it. I didn't like all of it. I felt like they could have cut a little bit more of it, but overall, I felt like her delivery was strong.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Definitely could have been cut, though,
Yeah. So, do you have any last thoughts before we wrap it up?
If I were to say one thing, I wasn't the biggest fan of sometimes having to turn all the way around for some scenes, but it didn't happen too often, so I wasn't really like complaining that much when I was sitting there. But one of my favorite themes throughout the show was watching the dead actors put their significant piece of clothing in the middle of the stage at the top. Actually, yeah, it was upstage, right by, I think, the alcohol cabinet or something like that. And they all just piled their clothes up at the top of there when they died. So it was really cool to just kind of see this mishmash of things and then bodies on. It was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say my last thoughts would be they had a really cool idea going with Lady M being involved with the witches. I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be her as like some sort of apparition that the witches were using to convince Macbeth to do things, or if Lady M was supposed to be a witch herself, or if she was supposed to be Hecate. I wasn't 100% sure on what they were going for with it. It was cool and it was different, and I wish they would have pushed a little bit more with it, and that they would have been a little bit more clear with it. But other than that, I really loved this production. I think it's a memorable production of Macbeth. Yeah, it's not your average production, and it will definitely be a Macbeth that I remember, and a Macbeth that I remember for being good.
Yeah.
So you have until March 30th to see it. Yeah, you are at the midway point of their run, so definitely get yourself there before they close. It's happening at the Capitol Hill Arts Workshop. Yeah. So, if you enjoyed today's episode and you would like to see more content like it, please like us on Facebook at Bulls with the Bard, subscribe to us on YouTube and ReadTube at Bulls with the Bard, and follow us on Instagram at Stoned Shakespeare. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Where sad true lover never find my grave to weep there.